Well, welcome back. Welcome back to Extraordinary Drummer Show. As always, I'm excited. I'm excited today to have my dear guest on the show. I've been trying to get this guy on the show for a while. He's been running and dodging and hiding from me. I'm gonna call you, man. I got you, man. Finally, we got him on the show. To me, he's a drummer's drummer. To me, he's the last generation of what we call the show drummers. The guys that not only can put it on a kit, but can entertain you too. I always said, and I don't get saucy here, but I always say it's called show business, which means there's a show and then there's business, and this man's got the show part of it down. We know him for working with so many different artists, but that main gig that he did for about 17 years, I guess it was 16, 17 years, was with the icon, the legend, Little Richard. Would you help me welcome my guest today, Derrick Martin. Hey,
what's
Derrick.
up, man?
Yo.
Bro.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
I really appreciate you being on, man.
Oh, man, it's my honor, man. Thank you.
Your honor. It's our honor.
You know, man. I see what you're doing, man. You got all of the icons. I'm just, I'm honored to be in the mix, man.
I mentioned in the intro that you, to me, and I hope you don't mind me saying, are the last generation of the show drummers. And what I meant by that was this guy. And I want to show y'all some video of that stuff. Back in the day, drummers were showmen. They would play on the rims of the drums. They would entertain the audience as an entertainer. They would walk around playing sticks on the floor. I remember them playing on people's drinks and glasses on the tables. I saw that as a young man coming up back in the chitlins, boy, 5 sets a night, boy. 1 o'clock in the morning, you still got 2 more sets to do.
That's right.
But tell me, where did you pick? So that's what that is. That's what when we say showman, and you can go back to some of the old Lionel Hampton and some of that time.
Papa Joe, Philly Joe Jones.
Yes,
man.
yes.
Sonny Payne.
Yeah, take us back. Explain what it is. I tried to. I didn't do too good. And where did you get it from?
Well, honestly, I think for me, man, the way I play and all of that, honestly, is just an extension of my personality. I'm just like a nut. We play these frat parties. And I think the first time I did the whole jump thing, it's like, I'm playing and we were playing some Parliament Funkadelic, man. And like, I think we were doing like, knee deep or something. And it was so deep, man. And at the end of the groove, we hit the song and I literally just elevated out of my seat, like, yeah. And the whole band turned around and looked at me like, yo, dude, what was that? That was cool. And the crowd was like, ah.
Can we give it to the drummer to give it to the drummer? Can we give it to the say what? Can we give it to the drummer to give it to the drummer? Can we give it to the funky drummer? White Mountain, give it to the funky drummer. Right. Yeah.
So the things I do is, as you're saying, it's just a continuation of a tradition.
What's the craziest one you've ever done as a showman other than jumping over the drum set?
And I guess one of the other fun things was when little Richard discovered that I actually did it and invited me to do it on one show. It kind of challenged me to do it, and that was fun.
What was that challenge? That little Richard thing? It sounded like you didn't want to tell me that one.
Well, I think I sent you the picture. Remember the picture I showed you with me on top of the piano?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Well,
Tell me how did that come about? Because I like to use that picture.
I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in Belgium, and we were playing this thing, and Richard was like, "Oh, they tell me that my drummer, be doing some real crazy stuff, when he's not with me, Y'all want to see what he can do?" And so he gave me the drum solo, and I took the drum solo, and I jumped over the drums and did a little thing, and then I jumped up on top of the piano and danced, and then I ended up face to face with him playing the piano. We were singing the lyrics together and stuff, and it was like, and then Charles Ginn, the bass player, Charles went to drums and was playing the kit, and it was, the crowd just went crazy, and that picture ended up on the cover of the local newspaper.
Wow.
But it was like, and after that, he was like, the guys in the band was like, "Well, Richard, man, we can't let him do that every night, because if he hurt himself, we won't have no drummer." But it was like Richard's thing was like, after the show, like, "Boy, you really did that, man. I looked up, wow, man, you really crazy."
D-Mart, take us all the way back. How did this all start? When did you know that you wanted to become a drummer?
Man, I don't really know if I knew. As I always say, that the drums chose me. I think you, as a drummer, you could be familiar. Like, my mom was an actress, and when I was like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, I beating on pots and pans with the spoons, and I just always gravitated towards rhythm and drums. But I just think from the time I was old enough to remember, I think the drums just spoke to me in a way, and it was like, this is what I have to do. I had my first little kit when I was like 5 years old, a little paper kit. And I remember joining the high school band when I was in the 7th grade. And, back then when we were in school, they had instruments for everybody. But everybody wanted to play drums. So they had to weed people out. And I just remembered, telling the teacher, there is no other choice. I'm going to play drums. She's like, "No, you will play if I," like, "Nope, I'm going to play drums." It's like, I was just that committed, man. And I just think, the drums chose me from the beginning, and it's been a lifelong relationship since that.
How did you go about around town making a name for yourself around town after you passed the young age of drumming?
Well, it was like, man, that whole thing was a mystery, like the whole gigging thing, figuring it out. Because, oddly enough, when they talk about choices, I was a senior in high school. We put our first band together out of the jazz band cats in school at Provine High School. And my mom was like, I needed a kit to be able to go out and gig. And my mom was like, "Well, I can buy you a drum kit, or I can buy you a car."
Ooh, nice choice.
And I was like, "Well, it's no brainer, gotta buy me a drum kit. I'll make enough money to buy several cars." And my first real tour was with Dorothy Moore. We got in an old RV and drove across country playing with Dorothy Moore. And that was like one of the first times that I knew, oh, okay, I could do this for a living.
You also did a lot of that marching drum stuff. Did you, like the marching snare drum thing? Did you do that?
Oh yeah, man. I marched core style in high school at Provine High School, and I marched in the Sonic Boom of the South at Jackson State University. We did traditional. And you talk about Showman, that's probably a lot of where, because that was all about, we had to learn full choreography, do dance routines. Every cadence had flashes, and yeah, that definitely had some, influence on my drumming.
would I be putting you on the spot if I asked you to grab a pair of sticks and show us some of that crazy chop suey?
Oh man, there's no. Well, you say some
Like
chop suey.
that Ginzu drumming, but you might have to back up a little bit so we can get it in. So we can get it in frame. Watch this, y'all.
You know, some of that kind of stuff, man. You know, we do. You know, some of this here, you know, some of that old school flash, you know.
You can't teach that stuff, man. You can't teach that. Wow.
Man, that's where we come from, man. Drum corps, baby. Well, so like I do this as a warm up, like a triplet. Because I know when I can do it, I'm warm. But I saw this cat when I was younger that started doing singles, and he could do a single stroke roll, like. I've never been able to do that, but I was just amazed when I saw that.
Do you really have 10 of these things, or is it like 12 of them on there?
Oh man, you know, this is what we. Hey, did you ever watch when you were coming up? You remember DCI, Drum Corps International?
Okay.
California Blue Devils, the Vanguard, where they would have these drum corps doing the most amazing stuff. Because I see kids now online doing like core snare drum stuff, and they've taken it to a whole other level.
Mm.
But yeah, I've always, man, the flash stuff, cats do they twirls, and then, you just find, with playing, you find a way to work that in there, you do your flashes, and you know how we do.
How do you do that trick where the stick looks like it's going under the stick and it looks like the sticks are moving sideways? What is that trick?
Something like this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually you're taking the stick here and it's there, and you just flip it over the stick.
Do it again. But do it this time. Do it slower.
Well, it's hard to do. Let's see.
I know. It's hard to do it slow.
Twirl there. Then this is the twirl here. Because it's like you do it the way it's positioned on my finger. It's like a fulcrum. So this is already just prepared to push it over the other stick.
D-Mar, I'm telling you, God has gifted you, man. God has gave you some other stuff. We see why he rests on the seventh day.
Oh, man. Well, see, but that's another thing to kids to think through, too, is that we use everything we have. So it was like when I marched in drum corps, like it all, informs everything. You don't throw stuff away.
Wow. Do you still use that stuff when you are playing?
Well, I mean, it's kind of all of the, like a lot of the twirl stuff and the stuff I got, a lot of that stuff I learned in drum corps, because we used to do all of this stuff. And so if I'm playing now, like sometimes, because I do this thing, like if I'm playing a ballad or I'm setting the thing up with cymbals, or I got a part where I'm quiet, I might just do this while it's going on. Right. And from a distance, it looks like a lot's going on, but I'm just twirling a stick in my hand, But it's just, or you doing this thing right here. And from a distance, it really, man, you were throwing the sticks really fast. Like, no, I'm just doing this,
When you're doing that twirl, how do you keep the stick in the same position and it's not sliding up and down? Yeah, how do you keep the stick from moving back and forth?
I'm just doing this.
Right.
Because I have it. It's like right there.
Oh, you got it in the center. Okay.
Yeah, and it just sits there. And you have to make sure you have the stick right in the middle of the shaft.
Okay.
So that the weight is even on both ends. And you can just keep doing it. It won't move. And actually, if you can feel it moving and you can just kind of slide it, you can maneuver it back and forth.
Yeah. Speaking of Little Richard, how many years were you with him?
About 17.
17, okay. Can you tell us, how did you go about getting that gig with Little Richard? And what was that experience like?
Well, short version of that story. I was in the band, well, we're still in the timeline with Dorothy Moore, Vasta, all these people that are teaching me. And there was this lady, Linda Jacobs, that was kind of co-managing this band I was in. And she also was one of the directors for this music festival called Jubilee Jam in Jackson. And Little Richard had played that festival, and she befriended Richard then. And he mentioned to her that he was looking for a young Black drummer to augment his white drummer. Because, you know, back in the day, he always had two drummers, two bass players, the whole thing. And he wanted to go back to that. And she recommended me. And she gave me his number. I called him up. He flew me out to LA. We hung out for a couple of weeks. He was just kind of checking me out, getting to know who I was as a person, the whole deal. And we went to Roy Gaines Club. Roy Gaines, blues guitarist that had a spot in South Central. We ended up going by there. I had this informal audition there, which I didn't know was an audition. But we played, we jammed, and oddly enough, all we played was the blues. We just played blues stuff, jammed around, never played any of his material. After an hour or so of playing that stuff, he was like, oh, okay, great, man. I heard enough. You know, you got the gig. You know, we open up for the Temptations next week in Cerritos. And I'm like, yo, what just happened, man? Like, we didn't play any of your music. He's like, oh, man, you got a good foot, good backbeat. You know, you say yes, sir, no, sir, you love your mama. I teach you the rest.
Tell me about that time. I know that you was on my show. I did the show tribute to Little Richard's drummers, and I thank you. Thank you so much for being on that.
Oh, thank you, man.
But in that show, I remember you talked, and I want to pick that back up. You talked about the time where you was on the award show, and tell us about what award show and what happened, because that's a great story.
Oh, you talking about when they told me? Well, what happened, this was the gig before the award show.
Oh, okay.
Well, the drama happened. We were playing old time rock and roll. And again, it's another one of these things I think I mentioned on that show. And that's it's always the drummer's fault. Like, it's always our responsibility to know more than anybody on stage. I just didn't know I had to read minds as well. And we were doing old time rock and roll. Now, you know, the groove traditionally is, I like that old time rock and roll, backbeat. But that's not what Richard wanted. But nobody ever communicated that to me. So we started playing the song, and I'm playing the groove, and he stops. Oh, no. Oh, that's not the right beat. No. So he stops the song. He starts off again. I come in with the backbeat again. And I think we're in front of like 30,000 people or something. He's like, oh, you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, I think the drummer's been drinking. Oh boy, I think he must be drunk or something. And he looks at me and he's like, you know what? You just don't play. Just don't play. So, of course, I'm like scared to death. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed. But the crowd doesn't know. They just think it's part of the show. So he kicks the song off. And again, production manager Wayne comes over and he looks at me, he points toward the kick drum, and he's like, telling me what to do. And so I start to play kick drum on 2 and 4. And then Rich turns around and look like, oh, okay. And so I make it through the song. At the end of the song, he says on the mic, oh boy, you better be glad you got that right. I might have had to send you home. And so the next night, we're playing the American Music Awards when he got the Lifetime Achievement Award. And so I'm still kind of reeling emotionally from that. And he knew that. It's a psychological thing. So we're not even playing this song on the show, but in sound check for the American Music Awards, he calls old time rock and roll. But this time I'm like, oh no, I'm kicking the kick drum up off the riser, and he's looking, oh, okay, I just want to make sure, But that was like, oh man, like what in the world? And even when I talked to him after the show, I was like, Richard, man, how was I supposed to know? Nobody ever told me. And he just said, hey, you're supposed to know. thing I learned from playing with Little Richard and people like that is that he may not always be right, but he's never wrong.
Tell me about Airtight Productions.
Remember J. Anthony Brown,
Mm-hmm.
comedian?
Mm-hmm.
Remember J. Anthony Brown had the player segment
Right.
on Tom Joyner Morning Show?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we wrote what became Jay's theme song called Don't Hate the Player.
Wow.
We've recorded that on an artist named Eddie Seawood Jr. And he and I wrote the song together and we put it out. And J. Anthony Brown came through town and heard it. And like, oh, I like that jam. And we went from releasing this local song to it being played every Friday morning on a nationally syndicated radio show.
I don't wanna cry no more, lie no more. I don't wanna do what we did before, no more. No more. I don't wanna cry no more, lie no more. I don't wanna do what we did before, no more.
We got a thing in the show we do. It's called Word of Advice, where we ask the drummers if they would give a word of advice to the up-and-coming drummers, to the drummers that are trying to get traction in their career. Some of them are already established, but just want to get to the next level. What would you say to those guys? What advice would you give them?
Well, the advice I give to young drummers coming up, period, is, it's gonna sound weird, but forget how to play it. Everybody can play. But the success is based on your professionalism. Can you be on time? Can you dress the part? Are you prepared? Do you do the homework? Whether it's writing charts or learning, that's what being successful, you know, whether it's the Steve Jordans or the Questloves, like the guys, or Harvey Masons, the guys that really do this for a living, success is all about your professionalism. Or can you get along? You know, do you follow directions? If the MD asks you to play a particular thing, just do what they ask you to do. No more, no less. So for me, it's just all about being a consummate professional.
Let me just tell you, or say to you, thank you so much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure, man. And thank you for having such a cool platform, man. I've enjoyed watching the shows and your interviews, man. You're doing a great job, man. Thank you.
Oh, wow, that means a lot coming from you. I want to do this again with you, but at that point, I want to show some of. I just want to do a show on the show. I keep coming back to that, but is that possible that one day we could just do clips and explanations and some samples and things of the Showman side and where it comes from? And I think we need to show that to drummers, that they can see it's more than just fusion and paradiddles, you know?
Oh, no, man, I'd love to, man. What we do, man, once we get past this stuff, man, I should come to you. I'll come to LA, man. We set up a kit and we can rap.
I would love that. I would even charge an audience to see that. Take an audience in and say $35 a head on this one. Would you help me wave goodbye to everybody and say goodbye to everybody?
Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, man. Peace and love, man.
Peace now. Bye now.
You got to get on up.